Alright, we've made it all the way to Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I'm going to go over some of the best moments, but before we do that, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the like button on this video. It helps more than you know. Alright, we've made it to another one of my favorite sequels in the franchise, and I will go as far as saying that Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers actually has the best fall atmosphere of any Halloween movie to date. And I'm talking everything from the trick-or-treaters to the color of the film to the fall leaves to the way they decorated all the houses in the film. Everything about it actually feels like the fall time. It feels like Halloween, where a lot of those movies were missing that atmosphere. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers attempts to fill in some of the blanks created by Part 5. If you remember going back to Part 5, we had the mark of Thorne on Michael Myers' wrist, we had the man in black, all with no direction of where they were going to go with this. So Halloween 6 was forced to fill in a lot of those blanks for us, and ultimately, as much as I didn't care for Halloween 5, Halloween 6 ended up being one of my favorite entries in the franchise, and it made me kind of like the Thorne cult. At the beginning of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, we get Jamie Lloyd, though not played by Daniel Harris. We still get Jamie Lloyd giving birth to a baby, so we'll have another member of the Myers family. And if we're watching the theatrical cut, you'll get Tommy Doyle giving us the intro explaining some of the Thorne cult. And if you're watching the producer's cut, you'll get Dr. Loomis giving you a similar explanation, but going much deeper into what the cult is.
And suddenly, Halloween was another word for mayhem.
So jumping right into my top 10 moments, I'm going to start with number 10, and that's going to be the chase between Michael Myers and Jamie Lloyd at the beginning of the film. A nurse at this place where Jamie is being held helps Jamie get away. Michael Myers gives chase because he wants to kill Jamie and he also wants the baby. He needs to kill every member of the family, and unfortunately that includes sacrificing the child. So he goes after Jamie, and this leads to an incredible chase scene inside of a bus station. She gets away from the bus station. This leads to a chase scene where Jamie takes a truck from someone that was just killed by Michael Myers. Michael Myers takes a coroner's van and he chases down Jamie. And this leads to a very suspenseful car chase scene where he's smacking into the side of the car and knocks her off the side of the road toward a barn. This would ultimately lead to Jamie's death, which we'll go over a little bit later in the video. Alright, in my number 9 spot is going to be the Deborah Strode kill. This is one of my favorite kills in this movie. And this is right after Dr. Loomis shows up at the Strode house to warn Deborah that she's living in the Myers house. Deborah attempts to call John Strode to confront him about the fact that he never mentioned that they were living in the Myers house. She threatens to leave him, he doesn't believe her. So as she's getting ready to kind of pack things and go, she gets a phone call. So at this moment, while she's on the phone, you'll see that Michael Myers is standing behind her. She gets that feeling, so she turns around and sees him, and she makes her run out of the back door. This leads to her running around all of the sheets that are hanging up in the backyard. She drops her glasses and breaks them, so she can't really see where she's going. She finds the glasses. She moves one of the sheets out of the way, and there's Michael Myers standing above her with the axe and having one of the best kills in this movie. You never see the kill, he just swings the axe and then you see the blood just splatter across white sheets, and it's just such a great moment in the film. In my number 8 spot is probably my absolute favorite kill in this entire movie, and that's the John Strode kill. So this is after Deborah Strode is killed with the axe. John Strode shows up home from work, finds that his wife is gone, didn't cook him dinner. He thinks she actually left her like she said she would do over the phone earlier in the night. So he's looking around the house, and in typical Michael Myers fashion, the lights cut out. So John Strode makes his way down to the basement to see if he could figure out what's going on with the lights. And of course he finds the bloody sheets inside of the washing machine, and Michael Myers is standing right behind him and throws him into the electrical box, causing a crazy light show, which you'll see from outside of the house. And he's being electrocuted for so long that his head actually explodes. And of course that's only the theatrical version. If you're watching the producer's cut, that doesn't happen. It's just a typical electrocution and he dies. But in the theatrical cut, we get a head explosion because they wanted some more gruesome kills in that version of the film. In my number 7 spot, that's going to be when Kara witnesses her boyfriend's girlfriend getting killed from across the street while she's at Tommy Doyle's house, and she's in the room looking through the binoculars. Her brother and his girlfriend just get back from the festival and they're having a little bit of fun. He goes into the shower, and Kara's looking at the girl from across the street through the binoculars, and she sees Michael Myers standing behind her. So she starts screaming, trying to get her attention, and Michael Myers just absolutely hacks at her with the knife over and over, and Kara's there to witness the entire thing. At this moment, Kara looks down and she sees her son Danny walking toward the front door of the Meyer house, so she gives chase to try to get him back. And of course, she goes upstairs into the bedroom while looking for Danny. She finds her brother and his girlfriend completely stabbed to death in the bed, leading her to freak out and start trying to look for Danny so they can get the hell out of there. And this would lead to a moment that I'm going to talk about later in this video. In my number 6 spot is going to be when Tommy Doyle is explaining the cult of Thorne to Kara. This moment gave me some serious Dr. Loomis vibes, just the way that he's explaining it, the dark tone in which he's explaining the cult. I wouldn't be able to do it any justice by explaining the scene to you, so I'll just let Tommy Doyle do the talking.
They're a kind of early alphabet that originated at about 500 BC. They were symbols carved out of stone or pieces of wood used in pagan rituals to portend future events and invoke magic. Among the ancient druids, Thorne represented a demon that spread sickness, brought death to hundreds of thousands of people. According to Celtic legend, one child from each tribe was chosen to be inflicted with the curse of Thorne, to offer the blood sacrifices of its next of kin on the night of Samhain.
Halloween.
The sacrifice of one family meant sparing the lives of an entire tribe.
In my number 5 spot is going to be the reveal of the Man in Black. So this is right after Kara finally makes her way in the house after a major chase scene that I'll talk about later. Kara, Tommy, and Dr. Loomis are standing just inside of the front door of the house. Tommy's trying to figure out who else could know about the baby, because now the baby's missing. And they're trying to figure out who else would know, and Dr. Loomis is trying to convince them both that no one else could have possibly known, because no one was there to hear about it. And just in that moment, Tommy and Loomis both realize that Tommy Doyle was holding the baby at one specific moment in the film, and this is when they were at the hospital. And in that circle was Tommy Doyle holding the baby, Dr. Loomis, and Dr. Wynn. And just in that moment, we hear Dr. Wynn start speaking. Now, this is one of the most shocking moments in the franchise because we haven't heard from Dr. Wynn other than at the beginning of the original film in 1978 after Michael Myers escapes. And Dr. Loomis is trying to explain to him that Michael Myers is going to be going to Haddonfield, and Loomis doesn't believe him, and he says that Michael Myers can't even drive a car, and that's the only time we ever hear from Dr. Wynn. Now all of a sudden, here he is in part 6, and he's the mastermind behind the entire cult of Thorne. And it's just one of those shocking moments that if it's your first time watching it, you were not expecting that at all. But at least it gives us some answer to the Man in Black. I know that wasn't the intention in part 5, but it's what we got with part 6, and it helped fill those holes. In my number 4 spot is an even more shocking moment than that, which is the reveal of Mrs. Blankenship as part of the cult. So right after we find out that Dr. Wynn is the mastermind behind the cult of Thorne, Kara makes her way upstairs to try to find the baby, and she finds the baby in the arms of Mrs. Blankenship. This was such a shocking moment because throughout this movie, she plays this sweet old lady who never speaks, doesn't even know what's going on. They make several references that she can't hear a thing, and it's just one of those moments that you just never expected that she would be in this cult.
Blankenship. Oh, God, hurry. We have to.
Hello, dear.
In my number 3 spot is going to be the Jamie kill. Now, this is right after a scene that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, which was the car chase scene. Right after that scene, Jamie is run off the road into the side of a barn, and Jamie gets out, and Michael Myers finds that she doesn't actually have the baby because she left the baby at the gas station, which we find out later that Tommy Doyle will go in and recover. But this moment leads to one of the major kills in the franchise, and that is the character of Jamie Lloyd. Michael Myers pins her onto the side of a machine and turns it on, completely ripping her guts out. It's one of the coolest kills in the movie. It's one of the coolest kills in the franchise, but it's unfortunate that Jamie Lloyd had to go because I know the character of Jamie Lloyd was a fan favorite, but this particular actress was not. Danielle Harris was really the fan favorite, so it's one of those things that can be up in the air for me. I can do with or without the character of Jamie Lloyd, but in this case, it was a great kill. In my number 2 spot is going to be a moment that reminds me of the original Halloween film. And it's going to be the moment when Kara is being chased across the street by Michael. And he's chasing her from the Myers house back to the Blankenship house where Tommy Doyle lives. So this is right after Kara finally gets a hold of Danny. And there's this huge fight scene inside of the Myers house. Kara gets away and starts running across the street, and Michael is catching up to her very fast. So this leads to a moment where, just like Laurie was going from door to door, and she eventually makes her way to the Doyle house, and she's banging on the door for Tommy to come and let her in, they recreate this moment to perfection. So Kara is now banging on the door of the Blankenship house, and she's waiting for Tommy to come open the door for her, just like what happened to him that first time. And Myers is getting closer and closer and closer, and just at the last possible second, Tommy is able to open the door and let her in, and they shut the door and Myers is locked out. And of course this would lead to the reveal of the Cult of Thorne. But it was just one of those great suspenseful moments and a great callback to the original Halloween, and that's why it's at my number 2 spot. And finally, in my number 1 spot is none other than the climax of the film, and this is the final battle that happens between Michael, Tommy, and Kara. Tommy injects Michael with a handful of some kind of serum, which looks like it's doing enough damage to kind of make him a little woozy, but it's not completely knocking him out like it was intended. Michael's still able to try his best to get to Danny, who now has the baby in his arms. And when the baby is just outside of Michael's reach, Tommy Doyle shows up with the pipe, and just like what happened in part 5 with Loomis and the 2x4, we get a very similar ending, and Tommy's pretty much beating the crap out of Michael with this pipe, causing him to bleed some kind of weird green ooze stuff, and that should probably be in a worst of video. However, the scene was great. He beat the hell out of him for a while, and it's one of my favorite Paul Rudd moments because I'm not a huge Paul Rudd fan, but this is it right here. So that'll do it for my top 10 moments of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Was this one of your favorite films? Are you like a lot of fans who absolutely hated part 6? What are your thoughts? I definitely want to know.